It's Kevin, and as you can see, I've got a bag of ice on my shoulder. This is for swelling decrease. But anyway, the date is May, let's see, today is the 4th. On the 28th of February, I had a biking accident. I was coming downhill real fast. I was on a rented bicycle and was going really fast, got into kind of some trouble. I hit the front brake and the front wheel locked up, and because my body was a little far forward, I flipped over, did a somersault on the air, and landed on my shoulder. I was immediately transported to a local doctor, an emergency room facility, and they took x-rays. And one of the reasons I want to do this video is because when I was first had this problem, I was on the internet looking for something. I wish somebody would have told me that time is critical, especially the early period when you have this, because from my understanding, if you are a grade, they told me I was a grade 2. Turned out I'm a grade 3 or low grade 5. I actually was misdiagnosed by 3 doctors: the emergency room doctor, my orthopedic surgeon, which I saw 5 days after, and he had good reviews on the internet and whatnot. And then I had an MRI, and that doctor who read the MRI said I was a 2. But I had a 13-inch, and I've got a picture that I'll show of the before. I'll include it here. But when I talked to, I sent my x-rays off to a doctor in New York and one in Florida. And both of them said, they told you that's a 2? There's no way. You've got like a 13 millimeter up here. And so, as you probably already know, it's not that this is sticking up, it's that the shoulder is drooping. All of the ligaments, the AC, the acromioclavicular ligament, and the what they call the CC ligaments were torn in the back, and so that's sticking up. It's just your shoulder is drooping. All right. So when I talked to the doctor in New York, he said you've got at least a 3 or a low grade 5. Well, that was confirmed because I sent my X-rays to him and to another doctor in Florida. But the point that I want to make here, and why this is important, is my misdiagnosis cost me some potential valuable time. If you are a grade 3 and you have what they call horizontal instability, in other words, this is a multifunctional directional problem. You've got vertical height, which most of them that do the loop, you probably know some guys do a tendon graft for your CC ligament, in other words, around your conoid process and around your clavicle, or they use a fancy shoestring. They're going to go ahead and bring it up vertically, but a lot of them don't treat what I call my hinge, the acromioclavicular right here. This is where the shoulder blade and the clavicle meet. Some of them actually will lob that off, what they call a distal clavicle dissection there. They actually cut part of that off, a small amount, and it's just free floating. I've seen pictures and there's nothing connected. The doctor I went to in New York, he actually does a fixation. He puts an anchor on this side and on this side, and then he sutures it, and then he does like a little flap called an imbrication. And so you not only have stabilization here, which creates horizontal stabilization, but of course he does by the way, it's Dr. Stephen Struhl. He doesn't even know I'm doing this. I'm doing this, and I'll tell you why in a second. Because I got a really good recommendation. On his website, there was an MMA fighter who I had read about, and I reached out to him on Facebook, and he called me back, and he's actually got a big fight coming up, but he says he couldn't be happier with the procedure, and so that's one of the reasons that I moved forward. This guy says now he's deadlifting 375, and he's never felt stronger, and he's an MMA fighter. So I'm just a guy who rides a bike and wants to get back into the gym, so I thought this is perfect. And I'm glad that I did it. But anyway, what you need to do is if you have a grade 3 or a grade 5, or you've got a grade 3 where you're going to eventually need something anyway. Now, what I was told is just to sit on it. It's a grade 2. Don't worry about it. It'll kind of scar down. Well, it's totally disconnected. There's no way it's going to reconnect. Those ligaments, once they're torn apart, they're torn apart. And so if you want the full function of your arm again, to do all the things that you normally do, surgical intervention, to my mind, is the only thing that makes sense. Now, I see guys on the internet that have lived with it 3, 4, 5 years later, but I don't know if it's ever right. Obviously, you've got that bump sticking up, and then you just don't have the full range of motion. So anyway, I decided to move forward. But what I want to say is it's important that you get a proper diagnosis. And what I understand too, this is commonly underestimated because there's like 150 different ways to attack this problem. And they don't all agree on it. But anyway, I like Dr. Stephen Struhl because this is his specialty. And again, he doesn't know I'm doing this video. This is just from my own heart, my own research, and I believe he's the man. He specializes in this particular procedure. He's got what's called a double endo button closed loop. And a lot of cool things about this. It's a patented thing. But he actually uses a third endo button because you've got two ligaments back there, what they call two bundles. You've got the conoid, which is one of them, and then you've got the trapezoid. And he actually reproduces both of those again and reconnects. And in my case, he was able, now I did my surgery yesterday, which was 9 weeks to the day yesterday. So when I got out of surgery, he said, man, I got really good news for you. I was able to reuse your coricoclavicular, those are known, that bundle, those two that I just mentioned are known as your CC ligaments. He was able to reuse those and incorporate the double endo button, actually triple, because he puts a button on the trapezoid as well. The other thing that he does is you have what's called a CA ligament, a coracoacromial ligament, which actually connects to itself. So what they do is they disconnect it at the acromion. The acromion is this thing right on the end here, a little knobby protrusion, and they disconnect it there and they connect it to your clavicle, which gives additional support. And in my case, he said mine was nice and thick. Now I understand that's about 25% as thick as the CC ligaments, but in my case it was a little thicker, and he said that'll give you additional stabilization. So what he told us at the end of my surgery, and I don't believe he just says this to everybody, but we got in soon enough. 9 weeks, I guess, in my case was soon enough. They like to do this in the first 10 days. And you know, it's so important that your body reconnect. Now they know through doing MRIs a year or 2 years later that all of this has actually, I don't want to say grown back, but it begins to regenerate itself, and those ligaments take hold, and the scaffolding that's in there, the double endo button, it really just stabilizes it long enough for your own body processes to heal back up. So anyway, a lot of information there. Don't mean to overwhelm you, but when I was doing my research, I wish I would have found a video that kind of came forward and just said everything that I just mentioned and that I've learned in the last 9 weeks. I'm not sure where else I can go with this, except to say, get in to see somebody, get a proper diagnosis. And now I live in Las Vegas, so New York was a stretch for us. I do have a Christian sharing insurance through Medishare, and they were out of network for us. So, but anyway, I came up with a deductible, and my insurance company is going to pick up the spread on this. Anyway, if you have any comments, put them at the lower part here, and I pray everybody get proper diagnosis and get in to see somebody qualified. I find that a lot of people, you know, they don't specialize in this, so it's particularly challenging. But again, I chose this doctor, and I'll keep everybody informed as to how it's going. The surgery was a piece of cake. They give you a nerve block, which mine wore off just a few hours ago. Actually, it's been 24 hours, and now they've got me on just some meds, which I take sparingly. But the ice is really important as well. So there you go, and I pray that everybody get the diagnosis, the proper diagnosis, and move forward with that. All right. So God bless everybody for listening. Thank you.